Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is YOMA Chaf Daled. We are holding 8 lines from the top of the Amud. Says the Gemara, Boi, Rabbi Abin. Rabbi Abin had a shaila as follows. Trumas Hadeshin Bekama. We know that the kohen would take a machta, scoop out some of the ashes from the Mizbeach, take it off the Mizbeach, put it beside the kevesh on the floor where it gets absorbed. It's a nice, one of the nisim that took place in the Beis Hamikdash. Now, how much deshen does he have to remove from the Mizbeach? The pasuk says, Vehirim es hadeshen. He does harama. He scoops out, he separates some deshen. How much is it? Now we have several options, several sources, several places we can compare Trumas Hadeshen to. Several times where we have a similar lashon on the pasuk, very moisem, very moisa, and we have different shiurim in those places. The question is, which one will we compare Trumas Hadeshen to? Trumas Hadeshen Bekama, mit Trumas Maser, Yal Finila. Shall we learn it from Trumas Maser, which was actually 100th of the entire total? Maserishan to the Levi is a 10th, 10%. The Levi goes and passes a 10th of that on to the Kohen. That's Trumas Maser. So it's 100th of the total amount of Paris. Is Trumas Hadeshen going to be 100th? Because in both places we have a similar lashon in the pasuk. Here we have Beheir Misadeshen, and over there we have Vari Moisem. Is it 100th? Oi mitrumas Midyan Yalfinela. Or rather, shall we learn it from Trumas Midyan? When they returned from the war with Midyan, they brought lots of booty, and the pasuk says they would take a percentage and give it to Aaron HaKohen, this is a Hegdish. And let's compare it to there. And there, how much was it? Rashi says, Echad nefesh mechamesh hameis. 1 out of 500. So you had 500 people. One of the prisoners out of 500 was given over to Aaron. So it's 1 in 500. Here as well, Trumas Hadeshen is to be a 500th, 1 part of 500 of the entire Deshen supply on the Mizbeach. So which one is it? 100th, a 500th? Tashma, let's bring a raya. Tani Reb Chia. Nemar kan vehirim. V'nemar lahalan vehirim. Here, over here, by Trumas Hadeshen, we have Vehirim is Hadeshen. Lashon of Vehirim, we draw a parallel Exer Shavah to a Mincha, where it says Vehirim Mimenu Bekumtzai. Right, you scoop out from the Mincha, and we draw a parallel. Malahalon Bekumtzai, just as over there, the shear is as much as will fit into the scoop. It's a 3-finger scoop. Avkan Bekumtzai here as well. The shear of Trumas Hadeshen is a shear of kaimitz. Of course, he's not going to do it with his fingers. We're speaking about burning ashes, but that's the minimum shear of deshen for Tumas Halishka. Let's go over to Rashi, right on the immediately to the right. Toshma says Rashi, the maromas kaimitz yachfinan lo v'leivches me'omed melei kaimitz. He can't do less than approximately a kaimitz. V'imrotz alois, if Yosef, of course, you'd like to add, you could do that. It's not a maximum. You can't say it's exactly a kaimitz and no more. He cannot put his hand into the burning coals here to do kmitza. So actual kmitza is not practical. It's just an estimated amount. A minimum. At a minimum, it has to be a shir kaimitz. Of course, it can be more than that. Interesting that Migdash David learns that the kaimitz of the Trumas Hadeshen is like a kaimitz of Mincha. The Gemara is really comparing the two things. It's like a krava. Pasuk calls the kaimitz the askaras hamincha. It's the remembrance of the Mincha. It represents the Mincha on the Mizbeach. It's as though you're remarking the whole Mincha through this kaimitz. Here as well, Trumas Hadeshen is like a kaimitz of the entire Deshen supply, and it's representing the rest of the Deshen. It's like you be makriv of everybody. Omar Rav, says the Gemara, I'd like you to know a halacha regarding a zar. We know that a non-kohen may not do avodah. In fact, the result is misa. V'azor akarav yumas. So, of course, this Isra applies to all avodas. A zar may not engage in avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. It's meant for kohanim. except for shchita, which a zor may do, but otherwise a zor cannot involve himself in any avodas. However, when it comes to chiyuv misa, that only applies to very specific avodas which fit very specific criteria. Amarav arba avodos zor chayv alein misa. I'll give you a list. The following 4 avodas, a zor is chayav misa if he should do them, but only these 4: zrika sadam, va'aktara, he's makta the kaimitz of a mincha, makta the ivorim of a korban on the mizbeach, v'nisach ha'mayim, if he pours the mayim on the mizbeach, on sukkahs of course, v'nisach ha'yayin, if he pours the yayin, these are the standard nesachim on the mizbeach. So all these involve chiv misa for a zor. V'levi amar, I want to add one more. Af trumas hadashin. If a zor should do trumas hadashin, he's chayv misa. V'chein tani levi masnite. Levi, in fact, included in his brises, just as Rabbi HaKadosh compiled the Shisha Sidre. Mishnah Levi compiled Shisha Sidre brises. In his brisa, he added Av Trumas Hadesh. My time with the Rav, what is the pshat in Rav? Azor is only Chayv Misa. On the following 4 avodas, Zrika, Aktorah, Nisach HaMayim, and Hayayim. Why? Why only these 4? Dichsev va'ato b'necha itach. Pasuk is speaking to Aaron HaKohen, you and your children, Tishmrus kunaschem, you should safeguard your kahuna, l'chol dvar mizbeach, to anything involving the mizbeach, any avodas umbeis haparoiches, anything involving the avodas inside, behind the kodesh hakadoshim, umbeis haparoiches, v'avadtem, avodas ma'atona, etein es kunaschem. So this avodah is granted to you, exclusively to you, to kehanim, v'azor hakar yumas. The zor engages in any of these avodas, he's chayiv misa. We learn from here that actually Chiv Misa is very limited in scope. It only applies to very specific avodas which carry great significance. The pasuk says avodas matana, an avodah which involves offering, contributing, zrika, haktorah, you're giving something. V'lo avodah siluk, as opposed to avodah which involves removal, like removing Trumas Hadashim. Like on Yom Kippur, when the Kohen Gadol was inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, you have to go into get the spoon, the kaf and the machta out, cleaning off the menorah, cleaning off the mizbeach from its v'chazor, from its ashes. All these are examples of avodah siluk. You're removing, you're taking away, you're cleaning up. That doesn't carry the same weight as avodah matana, where you're actually offering and giving something. So that's number one. One condition for chiv misa by a zor if it's avodas maton, as opposed to avodas siluk. Number 2, v'avadatem. Pasuk uses the word of avadatem. We learn it Rasha. Avoda tama. What does that mean? V'loy avoda sheish achrei avoda. It needs to be a complete avoda, avoda which is going to conclude a sequence. It's going to be the final touch, final phase, as opposed to an avoda which leads into another avodah. V'lei avodah sheish achrei avodah. We'll go into Rashi soon. We'll see some examples of these descriptions, and that's that's Rav's makar. That's why he only had a list of 4 avodas where a zor will be chayiv misa, because we have to fit these descriptions. It has to be avodah tama and avodas matana, and only zrika and aktorah and nisach hamayim and hayayin have those conditions met. For instance, zrika is avodas matana. You're offering, you're giving something. It's also avodah tama because it's a last avodah you do with the dam. You're not going to do any more with the same dam. It's the final concluding avodah. Actually, it tastes Shalom as a kashi. He says, "What do you mean? You have shiyori adam, leftovers of the zrika are spilled on a certain area of the mizbeach and the yisoid. So dam has more avodah is coming." He says, but that's the other dam which was not sprinkled on the mizbeach. The dam on which you already did zrika, that dam is right on the mizbeach. That's it. It has arrived at its final destination. Therefore, that's called avodah tama. So it fits both bills, avodah matana and avodah tama. As opposed to trumas hadeshen, which is, although an avodah tama, it's the last avodah you're going to do with the deshen here, but it's not avodah matana. You're not offering something, you're removing from the Mizbeach. It's Avodah Siluk, and therefore, according to Rav, it is excluded from this halacha. There's no Misa if a Zar does it. Continues the Gemara, what about Levi? Levi was the one who said that even Tumas Hadeshin, even for that is a Chiv Mis. V'Levi Rabbi Rachmana, the Torah was Marab, added in this pasuk, L'chol Dvar Mizbeach. The pasuk didn't have to say that. All types of avodas automatically included. Why does the pasuk have to say L'chol Dvar Mizbeach? This applies to all things involving the Mizbeach. There's a ribu here to include even Trumas Hadeshin. Now, why Dafka Trumas Hadeshin? So Tosfos says because Trumas Hadeshin is Kodemes L'Koil. It precedes all other avodas. It's the first avodah in the Beis HaMikdash, first one in the morning. So in reality, it's not just removing. You're really enabling all the subsequent avodas throughout the day, all the karbonis which are truly avodas matana, offerings, contributing to Mizbeach. So Trumas Hadeshin is the enabler of all those avodas. It's the rishon, kodemus lakoil. So although technically you're removing something, it is avodah siluk, and that's what Rav says he's potter from Misa. But according to Levi, it's somewhere in the middle, and therefore it's mistaver, the pasuk which says l'chol dvar mizbeach, coming to include something more than the norm, is going to apply to Trumas Hadeshin, and there as well there will be a chiv mis. V'Rav, what does Rav do with l'chol dvar mizbeach? What's it coming to add? Ahula asuyei sheva hazois shebefnim v'sheva mitzor. It's coming to include avodas which are not necessarily connected to the mizbeach itself. It's not really a carbon. You're taking dam and doing hazah befnim on the paroiches, or the hazahs of a mitzora, which involves his oil being hazah neged the heichal. So these are types of avodas which aren't really directly on the mizbeach, not really karbanos on the mizbeach. L'chol dvar mizbeach will come to add those as well. And as Tosfos points out, the fact is even the hazah of the mitzora, the shemen, is related to carbon. It's coming on account of the karbonos, and that's why we choose to include this in the list. V'Levi, how does Levi know these halachas? Hazois, because the pasuk of l'chol dvar mizbeach is unavailable. You better use it for Trumas Hadeshin. Nafkalei midavar, it could have just said dvar mizbeach. Why does it say l'chol dvar mizbeach? V'chol dvar? Why is the gears on the size of l'chol instead of a chol l'chol? In any case, the point is l'chol is extra, and we'll include even the hazois of befnim and mitzor. V'Rav, what does Rav do with the word l'chol? Dvar v'chol dvar le'dorsh. He doesn't make an issue of the word l'chol. It goes together. Chol dvar mizbeach, which is going to include the sheva hazois, the heichal, the dam, and the shemen of mitzor. Let's take a look at Rashi inside. So it's around the middle of the Amid here. Rashi begins with the words Arba Avodas. So Rav gave us a list. Only the following 4 avodas will result in misa by a zar doing them. Afal b'shekulan muzar alein zar. Of course, a zar may not engage in any avodah. Is an isur. However, ein chiyuv misa. Elo ba'arba ha'elu k'ibn farish v'azal. Chiyuv misa only applies to these 4. Va'ato b'necha itcha, sefer dekra, v'azor ha'karav yumas. And we'll learn from this pasuk. Avodas matam. It has to be offering something, giving something. Shata noisin ala mizbeach. V'lei avodas siluk, as opposed to removal. Shata misalik. V'sor me ala mizbeach, going through Trumas Hadeshin. Therefore, that's excluded. Likewise, we learn avodas tama. Avodas she geimeris. It's a conclusion. Umar tamemes as a davar. It completes it. As opposed to an avodah which is followed by another avodah. It's only leading into the next. That's not important enough. That doesn't have the same significance as the avodah tamam, and there's no misa. Kigoin shchita. That leads into Kabbalah. Vaylacha. All these things are preceding zrika. Right? The shchita leads into Kabbalah, which leads into halacha, which finalizes with the zrika. Therefore, shchita, Kabbalah, and halacha are not included on the list. Aval zrika, yeah, that's the final avodah. Avodah achrayna shebadam. That's the final avodah with the dam, at least. Of course, the chaylev has to be brought on the mizbeach, but this item, this dam, is now completed. So shchita, the Kabbalah, and the halacha were preparing for the zrika of dam. But the zrika is the final avodah, and that's avodah dam. Same thing with Torah. You makta the kaimitz of the mincha, it's the final avodah. You makta the ivorim and pedorim of an animal, the final avodah. Likewise, when it comes to pouring the wine, pouring the water, that's considered avodah tam. Says Levi, okay, but I want to add Trumas Hadeshin, l'chol dvar mizbeach, l'rabbi is avodas siluk. Im avodah tami, you can go into Trumas Hadeshin. So avodah tama is absolute. But when it comes to avodah siluk, says Levi, I have one exception. Trumas Hadeshin, as learned from the extra pasuk, l'chol dvar mizbeach. Rav uses that pasuk for Sheva Zoy Shebefnim. Shemaz ala paroiches, mi parhelam dover, par Mashiach, Shem Kippurim, various kabbanis which require hazos dam on the paroiches. V'sheben Shemaz meluk shemen behechel kechsiv v'izah ben Hashem betzboi v'gam. Why do I have to be marred by these things? Why would I think they're not included? They're final avodas. They're avodas matana. Answers Rashi. Perhaps I would say lav dvar hamizbechu. It's not really directly connected to the Mizbeach. Lachi Rabbi L'koil, that's why we have to have the pasuk which says L'chol Dvar Mizbeach. Even these things which are loosely related to Karbanos and Mizbeach should be included on the list. V'Levi, how does he know these halachas? Because he already used the pasuk for Trumas Hadeshin. Nafklu kulu minei, all who we learned from the same pasuk. Midvar L'chol Dvar. The word L'chol is extra. The Dvar Mizbeach Gufi Yiseru. That itself is an extra pasuk. V'nigma minei Trumas Hadeshin. That's applied for Trumas Hadeshin. U'mirbuya d'lachoil dorish be'hazah hapnimis. So bottom line is that generally you have two conditions that need to be met to be mechayiv misa by a zor, avodas matana, and avodah tama. Levi provides one exception. Trumas Hadeshin, he says, although it's an avodas siluk, it's still included on the list. Says the Gemara, how can you do that? We know there is halacha, a formula called klal prat. We have a general term followed by a specific term. We say the general term is restricted, only applies to a very specific case described in the specific prat. Ve'ema, why don't we say as follows, says the Gemara, 4 lines from the bottom. L'chol davar mizbeach klal. When it says l'chol davar mizbeach, it's a general rule. Anything related to mizbeach generates misa. But then the pasuk continues, avodas matana. Only an avodas matana, which contributes and offers. So that's a prat, very specific description. You have a klal and a prat. Ein b'chlal, el mashu prat. The prat goes ahead and restricts the klal. Chiv only applies when it's avodas matana. Avodas matana in, yeah, over there is chayiv. Avodas siluk loy, but an avodah which involves removal, as Trumas Hadeshin, there's no chiv misa. So how can Levi say otherwise? Amar Kra says the Gemara, the pasuk actually says like this: Ulamibeis la paroiches vavatem, and then the pasuk continues: Avodas matana etenis konascha. So those words, Ulamibeis la paroiches, they're mafsek. They intersect between the klal and the prat. What was the klal? The chol dvar mizbeach, indicating any mizbeach related avoida generates misa. That's a klal, a very general description. Then the pasuk later goes into greater detail, avodas matan, merely avoida which contributes. Right in the middle we have words which are mafsik, separate between the klal and the prat. Ulamibeis la paroiches vavanta. So what does that do? It tells you that the prat which follows, the specific description, the avodas matana words that follow, only meant to be applied to these specific locations. The mebeis la pareches, which is the inside of the Beis Hamikdash, the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And we learn like this: El mebeis la pareches, only over there. Who do we apply this halacha, the avodas matana v'le avodas siluk? Only mebeis la pareches, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, do we say it has to meet this requirement. It has to be avodas matana, an avodah which gives, which contributes, as opposed to avodah siluk. For instance, Rashi will tell us some examples. Let's look at Rashi right now on top. Umeisa pareiches. Afsek, that's coming to you mafsek. Bein klal leprata. Between the klal, the words l'chol dvar mizbech, which sound like the zor will get missed on account of any avodah, any mizbech related avodah. Leprata. To the words that denote more specific requirements. The avodas matana. And we learn from here that the avodas matana condition only applies in beis pareiches. In beis pareiches who the avodas matana. Over there it has to be a contributing avodah. For instance, Kikoin Hazoish ben Abadim, the Makipurim, when it's in the Kteres Aleish. There's a Dam in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Kteres on the fire, Kodesh HaKadoshim. Since it's avodas matana, there's a chiv misa. Continues Rashi, v'lo avodas siluk, as opposed to removing. Kikoin Hazoish kafel machta. Shekein Godel machnes sham the Kteres, the Makipurim, u'maneach ben Abadim, v'achaka choyzer moitzion, as opposed to an avodah which involves removal. Ken Gadol will go in to remove the kaf and the machta, which he used to transport the Kteres into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So removal of the kaf and machta is avodah siluk. There's no chiv for a zar. If a zar would do this, there's no chiv misa. Getting back to the Gemara in the second line. So again, this only applies maybe it's la pareiches. Ha b'chutz. As opposed to an avodah which takes place outside, meaning the azara, mizbech hachitzin. I feel avodah siluk. A zor will get misa even if it only is an avodah siluk. For example, Trumas Hadashin. So the kasha was, how could you contemplate that a zor is chayv misa on Trumas Hadashin? It's avodah siluk. The pasuk clearly tells us, klalo prat. The chiv only applies to the prat when it meets this condition, this avodah matana, not avodah siluk. The answer is, this condition only applies to mebeis la pareiches. But if it's an avodah b'chutz, such as Trumas Hadeshen, but mizbech hachitzon, a zor will get misa, even though it's an avodah siluk. Avodah siluk condition doesn't apply b'chutz. If that's the case, if you're going and be mafsik between the chol dvar mizbech, which denotes anything, and the conditions, the more specific descriptions in the pasuk, avodah matana, and you're telling me that it only applies to mesa pareiches, because those words come in between the klal and the prat, and the prat only applies to mibes pareiches to the kodesh hakadoshim yachi vavantem navi. Remember, we learned another thing from the word the pasuk vavantem. Avodah tama has to be a completion, a conclusion, as opposed to an avodah which leads into something else. So the pasuk lumps them together, vavantem avodas matana, and they're said right after the words l'mibes pareiches. So let's suppose that those conditions, both of them, avodas matana and avodah tama, only apply in the kodesh hakadoshim, and not to any avodas that take place outside. Yachav avantem nami el mibeis la pareiches hu the avodah tama v'lo avodah sheish achrei avodah. This concept of avodah tama should only apply in beis la pareiches, and will come to exclude avodah sheish achrei avodah, avodah which is followed by something else. Ha b'chutz, but if we're speaking outside the kodesh hakadoshim, in the azara, afilu avodah sheish achrei avodah. Let's assume that a zar will get misa even if he does an avodah which is followed by another. Just as you said, we had two conditions, right? We had avodah tama and avodah matana. You just finished telling me that since the pasuk is mufsak, we have the base of pareiches coming right in the middle of that pasuk, that indicates that the condition of avodah matana only applies in the base of pareiches. The same concept, the same formula should apply by the word vavantem, avodah tama. Only based on pareiches does it have to be a complete avodah. But if it's outside the azara, any sort of avodah, even if it's an incomplete avodah, this will generate misa. So why is it that you gave me a very small, limited list? Zrika and Aktar, we have so many other opportunities, so many other potential avodas which should generate misa. Says the Gemara, vavadtem, the fact that the word vavadtem is preceded with starts with a vav, vavadtem, that denotes connection. Hadar arvikra. When it comes to the lesson being taught by the word vavadtem, avodah tama, the vav goes ahead and connects it and tells you that even something which is not mibes laparechas, we go all the way back to the beginning of the pasuk, l'chol dvar mizbeach, and now we attach the word vavadtem to it. So although we have other words in between, we have chol dvar mizbeach, ulu mibes laparechas, which come in between. Base laparechas come in between chol dvar mizbeach and vavadtem, but since vavadtem starts with a vav, denotes connection, we'll machaber it back to the beginning of the pasuk. It says, though pasuk would say l'chol dvar mizbeach, any avodah involving the mizbeach achitzen needs to fit the bill. It needs to be described as vavadtem avodah tama, a complete avodah. So when it comes to avodah tama, there's no difference where it's happening, outside, inside. That's a required condition for chiv misa. But when it comes to avodas matana, which means contributing, that, at least Levi holds, only applies inside, but outside, that condition doesn't have to be met. That's why Termas Hadeshin will generate misa, even though it's an avodas siluk. Boy Rav, what about the heichal? We discussed the Azara, we discussed Kodesh HaKadoshim. Kodesh HaKadoshim needs to have both criteria met, avodas matana and avodah tama. In the heichal, we just said avodah tama, yeah. Avodah siluk, according to Levi, is not needed. What about the heichal? By Rava, avodah siluk v'heichal ma'u. What will be the halacha regarding an avodah of siluk, which takes place in the heichal? For instance, says Rashi, cleaning out the mizbeach, cleaning out the menorah. According to Levi, is a zor chayiv misa or not? Ma'u. Lifnim medaminale. Should we compare the heichal to the Kodesh HaKadoshim? A siluk is pater there. Should we compare to the Azara? Or according to Levi, avodah siluk is chayiv. Hadar pashta. Rava came back and he concluded, clarified. Mibeis ulu mibeis. Pasuk says ulu mibeis la parechas, which is referring to behind the parechas, the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Why doesn't the pasuk just say mibeis la parechas? The fact that the pasuk adds a couple of letters, ulim mibeis la parechas, is a riboy, and telling us to equate the heichal to the Kodesh HaKadoshim as well. Okay. Continues the Gemara. Elamiyat. Now, based on the previous formula, what about the following avodas? Why are we limiting the list to only 4? According to Levi, 5. What about the following halachas? Following avodas? Elamiyat. If that's the case, then zor shesidur es ha-shulchan l'chayv. What if a zor goes ahead and sets up the lechem apanim on the shulchan? He should be chayiv. It's an avodas matana. He's contributing. He's offering something. He's putting bread on the table. And l'cha'ira, it's avodah tama. It's a complete avodah. It's the final destination of the lechem. Nothing happening afterwards. Ika siddur b'zichen. It's not the final avodah. We still have arranging these spoons, the containers of the levain, of the fragrance on the lechem, on the shulchan. And let's remember the lechem apanim with the levain really, I'll consider like one package, one bundle. In fact, when you mark to the bazichen, the following Shabbos, the Torah calls it askarasa. It's a remembrance for the lechem apanim. It's like the haktoras kaimetz of a mincha. So it's really related. It's one packet. It's one carbon, so to speak. Therefore, presenting the lechem on the shulchan is not a complete and final avodah. You still have to present the bazichen. Okay. See, they're bazichen l'chai. What if the zar did the bazichen should be chai? That's the perfect avodah. Avodah matana, avodah tam. Ikas siluk v'aktorah. We're not done yet. Next Shabbos, if they remove the bazichen, I'll be maktik teres. So it's considered an avodah which has yet to be followed by another avodah. What about zar shesidus ha-menorah l'chai? Zar sets up the menorah. He should be chai. What does siddur menorah mean? So Rashi says that in the morning they would remove the cups. The neiros are the cups here. Clean them out, and then put them back on the menorah. So if a Zor does that chore, he's mesader the menorah, puts back the cups, he should be chayiv. It's avodas matana, and there isn't really anything more going on with the cups themselves. So why isn't he chayiv? Why isn't this included on the list? You can have seen a psila. There's still something to follow. Placing the wick in the cup. The Gemara is learning that's considered another avodah which follows the sidur menorah. Now some psila chayiv. What if he places the psila in the cup? That's a conclusion that should be chayiv. Ikan nesinas shem. There's still oil to be poured in. Nasan shem l'chayiv. What if he pours the oil? It should be chayiv. Ikad lakas on neiros. So the Gemara, after you set up the menorah, ikad lacha. You have to light the menorah. What about hidlik l'chayiv? If he lights the menorah, it should be chayiv. Hadlaka lav avodah. It's not considered an avodah. Why? So the Farshim say it's not really considered. The Tesis Shanim says sheshal heves oila meileh. The flame just rises on its own. It just kindles it and rises on its own. It's not considered a significant ma'isa. It's not considered an avodah. You know, there's machlekes Rambam Ravid. If a Zor can actually do it l'chatchila, the Rambam learns kipshute. Lav avodah. A Zor can even do it l'chatchila. Now, although he can't enter the heichal, Farshim explained that they could take out, theoretically, they could take out the menorah to an area which the Zor can access, Azara, and he lights it there and puts it back in the heichal. The Rava disagrees. The Gemara doesn't mean it's not an avodah and a Zor is mutal l'chatchila. It just means it's not that type of avodah that has chashivas enough to be mechayiv misa. Now there's a kasha in the Rambam. How could you go ahead and light it outside? The menorah is meant to be lit inside. So Chazon Ish says apparently the mitzvah of hadlakas neiros is not the actual ma'isa hadlaka, rather to have the menorah lit throughout the night. Interesting perspective. That's the pshat in the Rambam. The Zor can light it and have the even though he's lighting it outside, as long as you bring it right back inside and it's lit in the Azara, in the heichal, throughout the night. In any case, that's the teres of the Gemara. Why isn't a Zor chayiv for hadlokas haneros? It's lav avodah. Says Rav Eloi, lighting a fire in the Mikdash is not considered an avodah. V'atanya v'nosnu b'nei Aaron hakahayin eish lo mizbech. The Kehanim should place the fire on the mizbech. V'orchu etzim al eish, and they should arrange the firewood on the mizbech, on the eish. What does this teach us? Limeid al hatzosas al yosa shleitei elu b'koyin kosher b'klei shoris. Hatzosas al yosa means kindling the splinters. And al is a tail. So these small, narrow pieces of wood used to kindle a large arrangement. That's how you do it. You start with small, and then you have it grow into a large fire. So even that, hatzosas al yosa, needs to be done through a kohen wearing bigdei kahuna. Limed al hatzosas al yosa shleitei ela b'kohen kosher u'b'kli sharis. Kli sharis over here means he's wearing his bigdei kahuna, because the pasuk says the word hakoyin. Right? It can only be done through a kohen, and a kohen is only enabled. It's only really considered an active kohen if he's wearing his bigdei kahuna, which enables him to the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. Rashi says whenever it says bnei Aaron HaKohanim, it means big kahunam, in a state of kahuna. Kohen is a servant, right? So the bigdei kahuna enable him to do the avodah, and that's what we call klei sharis. It's helping him serve, enabling him for the avodah. We see lighting a fire is an avodah. Why is the menorah different? Hatzosas al yosa avodah. Yeah, that's an avodah. That involves effort. You have to know how to do it, how to get the bonfire going. Hadlaka lav avodah, as opposed to just lighting the menorah in and out. That's not really considered a significant avodah, and there's no mis. Elamiyat, if that's the case, what about the following example? Zor shasider esam arachal chayiv. If a zor goes and arranges the eitzim on the mizbeach, he should be chayiv. It's avodas matana. It's it would seem it's a final avodah. Something happening afterwards with that wood. Ika sidur shnei gzira eitzim. Although this arrangement is in place, but in addition to that, there's a mitzvah of adding 2 blocks of wood, shnei gzira eitzim. And therefore, we don't consider sidur hamarocha as the final phase, because you're going to add some more wood afterwards. So although it's an avodas matana, but not an avoda tama. Siddur shnei gzirim l'chayv. What if the zor arranges the two gzirim? Now you completed the process. Should be chayv. Ika siddur eivar. Although there's no more wood going on the mizbeach, but he's going to have to arrange the eivar tamid on the arrangement, on the firewood arrangement. So there's going to be another phase of arrangement of siddur, although not with wood, but with eivarim. And that's why it's not considered, arranging those shnei gzir edim are not considered the final step, and not considered avodah tam. V'amar v'asher Rabbi Yechanan, didn't Rabbi Yechanan tell us that he is chayiv upon arranging the shnei gzir edim? Zor shesider shnei gzir edim chayiv. Apparently it is considered an avodah tam. Why? Because he's not going to add any more wood. So when it comes to this type of material, this wood material, this is the last thing. You put on the mizbeach for now. It's avodas matana and avodah tam. So why would Rab not include it on his list? But Pligi says the Gemara, actually, this is the point of the machlekes. Mar savar avodah tamahi. Whereas Rabbi Yechanan holds that it's avodah tamo, because as we explained, there's not going to be any more wood here. So as far as wood is concerned, it's a completion. The final phase of Siddur Eitzim. Therefore, Zor is chayiv. Amar Savar, love avodah tami. Whereas Rav holds, you're right. When it comes to wood, it's the final dose of wood being put on his back, but there's going to be some more arrangement. Siddur Eivari Hatam, and therefore, he does not consider it a final conclusion to this process, not avodah tamo, and a zar is potter on misa. Tanakava said the Rav, Tanakava said the Levi. Let's go back to the original machlekes between Rav who said that Trumas Hadeshin does not generate misa. It's called avodah siluk, whereas Levi says, despite the fact that it's avodah siluk, we learn from Pasuk Chalvar Mizbeach that the avodah siluk which takes place in Mizbeach Achitzain will be chayiv misa. We have a raya to each sheet. Tanakava said the Rav, a brayso to support Rav, that Trumas Hadeshin is not included on the list. Tanakava said the Levi, right to Levi, that it is included. Tanakava said the Rav. Avodos, we have the following will be a list of the avodos shezar chayav alei misa, that generate a misa for a zar if he engages in these avodos. Zrikas dam, if he zarek the dam on the mizbeach hachitzon, bein lefnim, or in mizbeach hapnimi on the pareiches, bein lefnei lefnim, whether inside, all the way inside the Kodesh HaKadosh. V'amaza b'chatas ha'oif, he takes a chatas ha'oif bird, and he does the hazah. V'amamatza, or he squeezes the dam on the mizbeach by an oilas ha'oif, v'amaktir b'oilas ha'oif, or he's maktir oilas ha'oif. V'amanasach shlesh lugim mayim, on Sukkot, he pours a 3 lug of mayim, u'shlesh lugim yayin, or on an ordinary day, he pours a 3 lug of yayin, then a sachem. These are all examples of avodas that are considered avodas matana, means offering, attributing, and also considered last phase avodas, avodah tam, avodas matana, and avodah tam, as opposed to Trumas Hadeshin, which is avodah siluk, and does not include on the list. Tanakava said the Levi. Now we're going to write the Levi from the price. Avodah shezar chayv alein, which avodas would a zor be chayv misa upon doing them. Shezar chayv alein misa. Hamir Hadeshin. Here we go. Trumas Hadeshin. V'sheva hazoyis shebifnim, or the 7 hazoyis of dam inside on the pareiches, mitzora, the hazoyis of the mitzora, v'amala al gabi hamizbeach, or v'zor brings anything on the mizbeach, bein davar kosher, bein davar pasal. Now this is a chiddush. Whether it's a davar kosher and belongs to the mizbeach, or a davar pasal which doesn't belong there, he is chayiv because he did aktorah. And Rashi points out that we're not speaking about any psul, rather very specific examples of psulim, shepsulim makodesh, he calls them. Things which became puzzle in the Azora, where we know that b'di'evid, if they happen to be on Mizbeach, you don't take them off anymore. So they're still Mizbeach, identified with the Mizbeach, and therefore if the Zor happens to bring them on the Mizbeach, it's considered somewhat of an Aktorah in his Chayv Misa. Okay, so in summation, we learned that a Zor who does Avodah is Chayv Misa, but this only applies to very specific avodas which conform to certain criteria. Let's go down the list. Zrika, Haktorah, Nisach Mayim Vayayin, and Hazah Bifnim. All these things conform properly because they're avodas matana, They're offerings, they're contributing, they're giving something. And also they're considered final stage avodas, conclusion avodas. Avodah Tama, and therefore there's a chiv mis. Tumas Hadeshin, although it's an Avodah Tama, but it's not Avodas Matana, it's Avodah Siluk actually. Therefore Rav says it's pot. Levi says it's chayiv because it went from a pasuk. Even Avodah Siluk, if it takes place b'chutz, it's chayiv mis. And we just learned about Shnei Gzira Eitzim. If a Zor places those 2 blocks of wood on the Maracha, we have a big shaila of how to view it. Well, in Avodah Tama, it's certainly, Avodas Matana, it certainly is. There's no shaila about that. He's offering, he's contributing. Is it an Avodah Tama? That's a shaila. Rav says no, because there's still a Varim coming on that same location. Therefore, he's pata from Misa. What Rabbi Yehuda says, with respect to Eitzim, there's no more coming. So it's considered a conclusion as far as Siddur Eitzim. It's considered Avodah Tama, and it's Chayav Misa. Continues the Gemara. We learn in the Mishnah, Arba Piyasas HaYisham, there were 4 lotteries. They took a finger count 4 times, 4 separate times during the day to allocate the avodas to specific kohen. Says the Gemara, Lama Mafaisen, why did it even do these finger counts? Lama Mafaisen? What do you mean, why? Kedamaran, as we just explained yesterday, it got violent and they were concerned about fighting and machlekes. Of course, there's a proper procedure. What do you mean to say why? Ela lama mafaisen v'choyzin mafaisen. The question wasn't why do you do pies. Of course we understand. The question is why do it over and over? 4 times. They scatter, they come back together. They disappear, come back together. 4 times over and over. Just do it all at once. Gather them all together in a circle and distribute all the avodas of today's avodah at that time. Why have to go through the process 4 times? Rabbi Yehuda Kessler lahargish kol ha'azara, to create a tumult, a noise, a crowd coming and going and going. It's a cover to Hashem. It shows chashivas to the avodah. That's why they did it 4 times over again. Shenemar asher na yachtov nam tiksoid beveis halakim na halech v'rogish. Says Rashi, 3 lines from the bottom. Actually 4 lines. Lama mafaisen v'choyzin mafaisen. Lama ne'asaf and lafais abba pam b'yayim. Why they gather for the pies 4 times a day? Because it's not masnisin, as we learned in the Mishnah. It's done 4 times. Yafisu al kula masif rishayna. Just make 1 finger count and then just go down the line. Okay, your Tumas Hadeshin, your Shchita, your Zrika, etc. The answer is lahargish, lashmiya koil, hamoyin am. Have the multitudes come and go. Kama pamim bazara, kama pamim shu kovid lamelech, shnema v'veis al-kim. That was the purpose of doing it over and over again. Says the Gemara, 6 lines from the bottom. But mafaisen. What were the Kehanim wearing while they were engaged in the pais? Were they wearing bigdei kuhuna or just ordinary begadim? Because really only several of them will be zeicha. Why would everybody have to wear the bigdei kuhuna? Rav Nachman amar bigdei chol. They wear ordinary begadim, not bigdei kuhuna. And then the one that was zeicha will switch out into bigdei kuhuna. Rav Sheshes amar bigdei kodesh. All Kehanim involved in the finger count would be wearing bigdei kuhuna. Why? Explains the Gemara. Rav Nachman amar bigdei chol. Everybody wears bigdei chol. The Amar is bigdei kodesh, because if you say otherwise, there's a concern here. Ike bali zroyos. We have these violent people, violent Kehanim, who, out of desperation, will go ahead and take the avodah, even though they're not deserving of that avodah. The chamsi, they'll steal it, steal the privilege of avdi and do it. So if you allow everybody to wear bigdei kuhuna, it's kind of lost. The finger count might go ahead and jump into the avodah. There's no stopping them. It's too late. Rather, have them wear bigdei chol, and then the one that won will switch it to bigdei kodesh. This way, you'll see if somebody's doing something inappropriate. You have some time to stop things in its tracks. Rav Sheshes amar bigdei kodesh. Instead of bigdei chol, I propose that they wear bigdei kodesh. Why? The amar is bigdei chol, because if otherwise they wear bigdei chol, you know what happened? Agav chavivusei mikru v'avdi. It might turn out that due to the excitement and dearness, chavivas of the avodah, the kohen who is zoich in the pious might just jump right into it without paying attention to the fact that he's not wearing bigdei kehuna. Therefore, I hold everybody wears bigdei kodesh, and the ones that were not granted any privileges, any avodas, will switch back to bigdei chai. Okay, time for a brief chazara of today's daf. We discussed the shir, how much ashes is included in the Tumas Hadeshin. Do we learn it from here? Do we learn it from there? The Gemara concludes we learn it from Kmitza of Mincha through Gzerek Shava. That is the minimum amount of Deshan removed a shir kainz. We know that a Zor may not do avoida, any avoida, there's an Isser, but when it comes to Chiv Misa, it only applies to very specific avoidas which fit very specific criteria. Number one, it has to be avoidas matana, avoida which grants, which contributes, which gives, as opposed to just cleaning up and removing. Number two, avoida tama. It has to be a conclusion, a final phase, as opposed to an avoida which is just leading into something else. We learn this from this, which pasuk? It says, "Vavadtem avodas matana etenes kunaschem." Avodas matana means offering, giving, matana. Vavadtem, vavadrasha, avoda tama, a conclusion. Let's go down the list. We have Zrika, Naktara, Nitzach Hamayim, Vayayin, Hazoy Shebifnim. He's Hazaras Chai because both conditions are met. It's avodas matana and avodas tama. Trumas Hadeshin, all on avodas tama, but not on avodas matana. He's just removing. Therefore, Rav says it's potter. Levi says we learn from a pasuk Chod Var Mizbeach that even avodas siluk, if it's outside the azara, it will be a chiv misa. Regarding shnei gzir eitzim, which is really an avodas matana, but perhaps not an avodas tama, Rav says it's not considered a conclusion, a completion, because there's still some more items put on that place, the ivar, and therefore there's no chiv misa on shnei gzir eitzim. What Rabbi Yehuda says, as far as wood is concerned, this is the final phase of arranging of a wood arrangement, and therefore it's considered avodah tama, and there is a chiv misa. The Gemara asked, why were there 4 piyasas, 4 separate procedures to create a hergesh koil ba'azara, coming and going, which shows chashivas and kaved to avodah Hashem. And machlokes, as far as the begodim worn by the kohanim throughout the pious process, Rav Nachman says bigdei choil, because otherwise the bali zroya might just overwhelm the rest and grab the avodah. So we insist on wearing bigdei choil. This way we can hold him back if we see that he's up to something no good. Whereas Rav Shesha says better wear bigdei kodesh because perhaps the one that wins will just jump right into it. Agav chavivuse, because of his excitement and chavivus to the avodah, and might actually do the avodah with bigdei choil. That's why all kohanim during the pious will wear bigdei kodesh. Hatzlacha Rav and kol tov to you.